Good evening. I pray that you have had a wonderful day and that you have allowed the Lord to walk with you during this day. We have to allow Him to if He's going to walk with us. He's telling us constantly, don't get ahead of me, don't lag behind, walk hand in hand with me. The only way to stay in the place where we need to be is to walk hand in hand with Him in His ways. I was reading out of 2 Chronicles. Again, the riches, the wonderful things that God did through Solomon before he went nuts. It amazes me. It totally amazes me. What God did through Israel in the time of Solomon is just amazing. It's if you've ever been to Israel or if you've ever seen pictures of places in Israel, that is the rockiest place that I've ever seen in my life. And it talks about in one place that silver was as abundant as the rocks. That's how rich that nation was during the time of Solomon. I was reading in chapter 9 where the Queen of Sheba comes to visit. And I just want to read three verses to you, chapter 9, verse 1 and 2, and then skip down to 12. It says, Now when the Queen of Sheba heard of the fame of Solomon, she came to Jerusalem to test Solomon with hard questions, having a very great retinue, camels that bore spices, gold in abundance, and precious stones. And when she came to Solomon, she spoke with him about all that was in her heart. So Solomon answered all of her questions. There was nothing so difficult for Solomon that he could not explain to her. Now then we skip to verse 12. It says, Now King Solomon gave to the Queen of Sheba all that she desired, whatever she asked, much more than she had brought to the king. So she turned and went to her own country, she and her servants. Who ever heard of somebody going to a king and bringing them gifts and them leaving with more gifts than they brought? This is how powerful, how wonderful, how rich that nation was, that kingdom was, and the graciousness of Solomon in his wisdom. And we come to a place where with us, and it's not about riches, it's not about gold and all of this, but we as Christians, when someone comes to us with a personal problem, with difficulty in a situation, we as Christians, if we know the Word, we should be able to lead them in the right answers, in the right direction. And the truth is, as Christians, we have all the answers. And you may be thinking, you're nuts. I don't have all the answers. We do in Jesus Christ, because He knows everything. If we don't know it mentally, we don't know it in ourselves, we don't know it in our own wisdom, we know the one who does. We know the one who knows everything there is to know. And He knows every thought, every intent of the heart, everything that goes on in every person's life. And when a person comes to us to seek advice, to have us pray for them, we should be like King Solomon. We should never let them leave empty. We should never let them leave with less than they have when they came. We need to leave them with more answers, with more encouragement, with more love, with more of the things of Jesus Christ than they came with. When they come to us with questions or situations, then again, we can go down the road and tell them, well, if you had lived this way or if you hadn't done that and blah, 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 blah. That's not the way to answer them. If you're living in love, you don't look at this and try to give them the answer of what they did wrong. If they've come to you with a problem, they probably know they did something wrong. Something's gone haywire. And so you do the best to lead them to Scripture, not your own thoughts, not your own ideas, to Scripture that will take them to the place where they get God's answer. So many times we think that we can give them the answer they need and help them out. We can't fix our own lives. Why are we trying to fix somebody else's life? Lead them to Jesus. Give them scriptures. Give them encouragement from the Word. Tell them what God says. Tell them what Jesus said. Tell them what the apostles said. Tell them what's in the Word. And leave them with more than they came with hope that this situation can and will be answered, with hope that Jesus Christ is there, knowledge that Jesus Christ is there with them, helping them, watching over them. We have the answers because all the answers reside in Jesus Christ. He has the answer to everything, every problem, every circumstance, every situation. He has the answer. But we have to go to Him to find that answer. And we need to lead people to Him. Yes, we give people advice, but we give the advice of the Scriptures, what the Word says. Not of man's wisdom, not of earthly wisdom, of God's wisdom. Because our wisdom can mess them up worse than they were when they came in. We don't want to do that. We want to lead them to the Scriptures so they see what Jesus says, what the Scriptures say, because God knows everything and He can help them out. So as we minister to people, as we work with people who have problems and situations in their lives, leave them with more. Leave them with more than they came with. Just like Solomon did with the Queen of Sheba. She left with more. She left with more riches and all this, but that's not what she was after. She left with the answers because this Scripture says, again, Solomon answered all her questions. There was nothing so difficult for Solomon that he could not explain it to her. There's nothing so difficult that God can't explain it, that God can't fix it, that God can't work it out for the glory of His kingdom. Remember that when you're ministering to people. The answer is not in your wisdom. The answer is not in your mindset. The answer is in Jesus Christ. Always in Jesus Christ. I love you, and I pray this is ministered to you, and I pray the next time somebody comes to talk to you about the things that are bothering them, that you'll lead them to Jesus and they'll leave with more than they had when they came. I love you. See you next week. Bye-bye.